do remember me. Fiora.
Of course I do. Shulk.
Every single week, I'll be chronicling my first time playing through Xenoblade Chronicles Trilogy on Switch 2 in anticipation for Xenoblade Genesis, so make sure to subscribe. This is week 5 of my journey through the first Xenoblade Chronicles. Last week, I met Melia's racist stepmother and Fiora returned. This week, I have arrived on Mechonis and Fiora actually returned. Okay. Before that insanity, once again, the environments this week have been so varied and awesome. Trudging through the snowy mountains of Valak is awesome. At night, this place lights up so beautifully. Navigating the terrain really felt a bit unnerving because there were so many sharp corners and thin paths that made this area feel like a mountainous region. Sword Valley was actually the least interesting environment I have seen so far in this game, but it still told this incredible story of the Mechonis draining the Bionis of life to create these lethal bioweapons that can disintegrate bioorganic life from Bionis. And what I love most about this area were like the quests occasionally popping up asking us to fight these commanders to take down this fortress. And inside, the Galahad fortress is pretty cool. I love the amount of rooms that were just full of these mechons hanging from the ceilings. It really gave the vibe of a final dungeon where I'm fighting my way through all of these mechons before they're sent out to war, saving the Alliance from dealing with more mechons. Mechonis is also just extremely fascinating. I wasn't expecting the Fallen Arm to be so full of life, but I guess since it is the Fallen Arm, nature had enough time to take over the arm. I'm also curious how much more mechanical it will get as we ascend up the Mechonis. Also, really enjoyed visiting the hidden Machina village as well, but I also want to talk about them during the story portion. I also came across the Collectopedia. I didn't realize this was a feature that I had to interact with where I'm like collecting items across the different areas, physically placing them inside this book. Luckily, I was only missing like 1 or 2 items from previous areas. However, since they were previous areas, I just want to look them up on a Wikipedia about their locations, and the Wikipedia vaguely referred to these locations as before the Mechonis core event. I have no idea what the heck that is, but it has certainly got me excited that some crazy stuff is yet to happen in this game, and I cannot wait. Also, so much has happened between last week and this week that I wanted to briefly highlight some favorite moments in this week's playthrough before I dive into the Fiora story stuff. First, I think it's really cool that Callian is building a Bionis alliance against the Mechons. They also nearly tricked me when Melia was saying goodbye to us, and I really thought she was going to leave the party again. But then Callian coming in here, having our backs and going, yo sis, you gotta go with Shulk and fight the Mechons out there. I thought that was so cool. There was also this goofy quest where a High Entia refused to talk to any of the non-High Entia party members. And then once you complete that quest, we told on her to her mother. Very funny. I also unlocked the Eater ability for the Monado, which sounds like such an insane ability, but I hardly use it. But it was hidden behind this really cool world lore quest. I thought that was awesome. Also, after the partial destruction of the Galahad fortress, there was this really quiet moment in the story where a lot of the characters were like being a bit more personal. Ricky imparting his knowledge as a father to Dunban, Reyn opening up to Sharla about his insecurities for not protecting Shulk. These were like some really wonderful moments that had such a perfect place in the story. Speaking of fun places, Munkar's death was great. This one was certainly like the writers knew that we all wanted him dead, but for Shulk's growth, we had to have Shulk or Dunban not kill him. You know, there was this awesome moment where Shulk stops Dunban from taking his revenge on Mumkar. Shulk realizing that these Mechons are being controlled by people. And instead of having this pure revenge to kill, it was this motivation to learn why this is happening. Why are these people wanting to kill other people? It's just this incredible moment of growth for Shulk, and I greatly appreciated it. I was also thinking back when Mumkar remembered his home's life and hatred for Dunban. It did open the door for me thinking that Fiora might actually come back, and I still just didn't forget that there was a meeting point in Dunban's house. And I was like, what important character is gonna fit there? Like, why? Okay, but before we talk more about Fiora, I want to talk about how Alvis, it continues to be more of a mystery to me. He does explain to the entire party that himself and Shulk are in direct contact with the Ether. It's the world's existence, allowing them to see into the future. At the same time, the more one is tied to the Monado, the more the world around themselves can shape to their will. Does that mean that the changing the future mechanic is actually quite literal? And that Shulk by the end of the story will be shaping more than just the future? He could shape the entire world. Basically, it sounds like he's a god at this point, or at some point. Also, after seeing Alvis and Lotharita talking about the spear that can disintegrate organic life, it's clear to me that they are not working with the Mechons, but who are they working for? Are they protectors of the Bionis? They even bring up working with Dixon. And we have seen Dixon talking with the leader of the Machina people. Dixon has a lot of explaining to do because this man, it lived for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years, and knows everyone on both of these mechs. The Machina people have been awesome, by the way. I was so curious what life would be like on Mechonis, and I was expecting something more rundown and destroyed. But honestly, the more I think about it, seeing that this is one of the least populated villages in the game, I think I would call this rundown. It's just, you know, with all this nature and water, it didn't feel like it. What's also really surprising is that we learned that Meyneth is the creator of the Machina people. She currently inhabits the body of Fiora, and we also learn that Egil is the son of the leader of the Machina people. So that was also crazy. Also, I'm just gonna say, Egil is just such an incredible character, dude. His introduction where all of his bodyguards like appear and he just ascends down from the heavens in this golden armor and this dragon tail, looking so epic, dude. This man is just irradiating aura. Absolutely incredible. And for him to taunt Shulk going, come fight me on Mechonis, absolutely incredible. What a cool character. Fiora, on the other hand, is also extremely cool, okay? I have expressed that I would not be a fan of Fiora returning, but they have absolutely proven me wrong. I was tearing up seeing the moment when Shulk and Fiora embraced each other. Fiora being this backseat passenger to her own body, being unable to cry out to Shulk for help. Shulk going through this entire journey, grieving Fiora's death to get to see her again. This moment was incredibly well earned, and it was so perfect. And seeing her become a playable character made me so happy. Now, she does play like completely different than she was in the beginning of the game. And I did actually find it funny that throughout the story, Meyneth was feeling so hot and heavy for Shulk that she flew to the mountain to see him. I'm very curious to eventually learn why Meyneth sacrificed herself, and we're putting this in quotes, for Shulk, and how Fiora was able to now take back control of her body. It is clear that Meyneth will come back again, but I'm curious how. Right now, Fiora is wanting to learn more about Meyneth and wanting to help her. So I really want to see how that all unfolds. I also really love the moment between Dunban and Shulk, where they truly believe that Fiora would come back. I wrote in my notes, and this is a quote where I'm quoting this directly, I hope Fiora doesn't come back but Dunban and Shulk will still get an opportunity to have a final goodbye. That is pretty you know what? Even though I said that, I'm so happy she returned because they nailed it. And I can't believe that the last cutscene I left off on was Egil wiping Gadal's memories. I do not want to see the pain that Charlotte is going to be feeling when she sees Gadal again. It is going to be so heartbreaking, but hey, please come back next week for more of my thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Thank you for watching. Go ahead, like and subscribe if you want to see more, because we're going through, I still got to go through 2, and then 3 comes out in December, so there's going to be a nice break, but I'll see you all next time. Goodbye now. Bye-bye.